From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt. This is Weather or Not. It's Wednesday, December 17th. And here's a look at our outline. We will talk about our windy conditions. Get used to that sound. I'll play it a lot during the show just to get the point across. But we are looking at windy conditions in our forecast, I would say, over the next 24 to 36 hours. Christmas and New Year's Eve heat. That goes into the pattern, mostly dry conditions and warm temperatures. We will have a setback for tomorrow as this front moves through. That will help bring in colder air. In fact, there may be blizzard conditions into northeastern South Dakota. So that is something worth watching. The snowfall amounts themselves will not be very high. Light snowfall amounts, 1, maybe 2 inches, and that's looking like a stretch, but it doesn't matter. It'll be hard to measure anyway because of the strong winds. So just be mindful of things as we go into tomorrow, especially in the northeastern South Dakota. If we do get a couple of those snow showers to develop, and even southeastern KELOLAND, we could get a burst of light snow, and that can combine with those winds in the morning that can gust to 50, 60 miles per hour, that can quickly reduce some of those visibilities in the morning. So that Storm Tracker app is probably a good thing to have. You can always check the radar, and these will be fast-moving snow showers if we get anything to develop. So we have a lot going on here over the next 24, 36 hours. Start things with Futurecast, and we can see rain showers today as we'll have mild air in place. Temperatures into the 40s for highs in eastern South Dakota. We'll have strong southerly winds. Central, western South Dakota, we have forecast numbers in the 50s and 60s. And then this cold front will move through. You see that cold front across western South Dakota during the afternoon. As it moves through, winds change direction west, eventually northwest. We'll have strong winds along with it. But even during the evening hours, now this is after sunset. This is at 6 o'clock. Notice how that front is moving through, we'll say, the eastern third of South Dakota. Ahead of it, we'll continue with rain showers. And you could hear a clap of thunder. That may not be, that's not out of the question, we'll say. If that happens, I think that will happen near the front. We have a lot of dynamics going on in the atmosphere, strong winds, strong low-pressure system moving through Canada, big temperature differences. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do hear a clap of thunder with a couple of thunder showers that can develop. And as we get into the evening, okay, I stopped it there at 10 o'clock, still looking at rain showers. Eastern, southeastern South Dakota. Once this cold air starts to pour in, and we'll have to have those winds change direction to the northwest, and they will eventually. Once that happens, that's when this cold air starts to move in. That will happen tonight. This is Futurecast during the overnight hours, and you can see north central and northeastern South Dakota. These are snow showers, and again, it won't add up to too much. Hard to measure. Winds will be strong, but the intensity of them as they're falling, yes, we will have reduced visibilities. It will combine with our strong winds gusting to maybe 60 miles per hour or more, and that's the reason why we do have this winter storm watch in northeastern South Dakota, due to the fact that we may have blizzard conditions into those locations. Now, this is tomorrow morning. Now, we can get a couple of bursts of snow in southeastern South Dakota as these winds start to increase from the west and northwest. So as that happens, again, same thing, southeastern KELOLAND. Now, the things will be widely scattered. It won't be as widespread as northeastern South Dakota, but with these little, say, squalls that try to move through, we will have visibilities that will be down. The snowfall amounts themselves will not be that high. And again, hard to measure because the winds will be so strong. Here's Futurecast during the afternoon. We'll have dry skies during the afternoon. And notice the clearing, sunshine, western, central South Dakota. And then as we get into Friday, let's change that wind direction. More of a southerly wind. And along with it, we'll have warming temperatures. Now, high wind warning. This blankets the area. Western, central, eastern, southeastern KELOLAND. That area in the northeastern South Dakota, that's where we do have the winter storm watch. That's more or less during the same time period. So high wind warning, wind gusts over 70 miles per hour, western South Dakota. Some areas will get a little higher than that, maybe approaching 80 or more in western KELOLAND. Notice the high wind warning moves in the central, eastern, southeastern KELOLAND. I think as we do go through the night and into tomorrow, that's when I think we'll have some of the strongest winds in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND, probably happening during the morning hours. And there's that winter storm watch, northeastern South Dakota. Blizzard conditions possible, as we'll have the snowfall. We'll have our strong northwest winds, wind gusts over 60 miles per hour at times. So here's that forecast for today. Mild temperatures in the 40s, much like what we had yesterday, though I do think the clouds will be thicker. Southerly winds will be stronger, and that will help us warm. We have temperatures in the 40s and 50s in eastern South Dakota. And then notice those numbers get into the 50s and 60s for central and south central KELOLAND. And it seems like everybody has at least a chance, we'll say, of a rain shower. 20, maybe as high as 50% in western South Dakota. In western South Dakota, the rain will happen a little sooner. Rain will continue this evening as the temperatures stay warm. But once the front moves through, in comes the colder air. We are looking at things maybe to switch over to snow, north central, northeastern South Dakota to start, and then those will sweep across southeastern KELOLAND, as I showed you on Futurecast, as we get into the late overnight hours and toward daybreak for tomorrow. So we are looking at colder temperatures to return tomorrow. And I would say just for one day. And then the numbers, will go the other way and warm again Friday into this coming weekend. But coming up after the break, we'll talk about our windy conditions. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. It's time to talk about the windy conditions. I mentioned that I will be playing the sound effect a lot. So you know, let's just have it play during this whole segment, but may end up being a little too distracting, so let's go ahead and pot that down. Windy conditions. Let's jump right into this, as even during the day today, we'll have strong southerly winds in eastern, southeastern KELOLAND ahead of this cold front. But once that front moves through and the winds do change direction to the west and to the northwest, you'll feel it and probably hear it during the overnight, as we have future wind gusts here. 3 o'clock in the morning, showing that 60 mile per hour range, at least 60 mile per hour range, western to northwestern South Dakota. You just have to keep in mind, too, that these are just points. These are more or less just grid points that you take for where these cities are, and then it just pops or plots a number there. So we could have areas close to 70. That's where we start to see maybe some of those white colors trying to come in around those browns from near Buffalo, the Bison, and areas to the south. Let's go ahead and advance our graphic here. Now, this is at 7 o'clock in the morning. Notice how those stronger winds are slowly trying to make their way into central South Dakota, as we'll have some of those wind gusts easily over 50 miles per hour, possibly approaching 60 or more. We have 64 miles per hour coming in for Rosebud during the 7 o'clock in the morning time frame. And then by midday, notice how these strong winds move into central and southeastern KELOLAND, where we have our wind gusts at 50 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit more at midday. And then that's the time where western KELOLAND will still have wind gusts 30, 35, near 40 maybe in Walt. But by midday, we are looking at those wind gusts into western South Dakota to not be as strong. And those winds will continue to die down as we do go through the afternoon hours for tomorrow. But eastern KELOLAND during the afternoon, still 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, strong wind gusts, 50 miles per hour and more. It's probably near sunset that you'll notice those winds will start to die down in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. And look what's going on across western South Dakota, becoming calm with those winds less than 5 miles per hour. So I showed you this a little bit ago. The high wind warning that we do have into western South Dakota, and that does stretch into central and eastern KELOLAND. And something else, the area across northeastern South Dakota, that is not in the warning. And the reason why that is not in the warning is because that is in a winter storm watch for blizzard conditions being possible, as we start to see some snow. On the backside of this system, we will see a chance for snow showers. Now, the snow itself will remain light, okay? It will remain light, very hard to measure. But, some of the modeling data predicting snowfall amounts maybe around an inch. We could get a couple of isolated areas that can get close to 2 inches. But again, hard to measure. But knowing that we will have snow, knowing that, the intensity may be there to quickly produce an inch or two, blizzard conditions will be possible as these wind gusts approach 60 miles per hour or more. Now, here's something that I showed you yesterday. And I know Brian showed this too on Monday. We're looking at that momentum transfer. Now, I described this yesterday as, the winds being coupled in the atmosphere. You go from one level, same direction, just increase the speed. You go up and up and up. More or less, it's coming in from the same direction, so it's coupled. And we try to get that momentum to transfer down to the surface. And more or less, that's what this is trying to show on, I believe it's the American model. Notice how it peaks right here. Now, this is going into tomorrow morning. And I know I have to adjust it. I don't know if I can move that over or not, but I don't think I can. But I would have to adjust the screen here to actually show it, and I can't do that offhand right now. But that this peak right here, that's getting in. I'll say it during this program. That's getting at 100 miles per hour and more. And that is for tomorrow morning, that area that I'm circling there. And this is Rapid City, okay? Rapid City, we do see some of these numbers coming in. We'll see if this does happen, but we do have the high wind warning in place in western South Dakota. Right now, we're just going with the general area there of 75 miles per hour or more. So that's Rapid City. Let me go ahead and bring in Sioux Falls. If I could do that quickly, go ahead and regenerate everything, and we'll see what this is showing us. As we go down, there's the hourly temperature forecast, and there's the dew point. Here we go. Here's the momentum transfer. That's getting up to about 60 for Sioux Falls, and that would be later in the day, maybe late morning, but it's trying to show that best chance, I would say, during the afternoon, maybe towards sunset. It's trying to bring in some of those wind gusts near 60 miles per hour. So that's a graphic that I know that Brian showed you on Monday. I showed you yesterday. I'm just giving you the update from today. So that's 3 days worth of these strong wind gusts showing up on these computer models, starting in western South Dakota, eventually transferring into central and eastern KELOLAND. So be prepared for, we'll go and play it, the wind. And along with it, we'll have our wind chills too. Let's show you some of these numbers as they will be falling as we go through the day for tomorrow. By the time we get into the later part of the afternoon and evening, wind chill values in the minus single digits and minus teens. Some of the coldest readings will come in across northeastern South Dakota. And I think it'll just be a quick hit of this cold air, and then temperatures will warm again as we do get into Friday. Coming up after the break, we'll talk about some Christmas heat, maybe even some New Year's Eve heat. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Christmas and New Year's Eve heat. Told the story yesterday. Wake up, look at these computer models. One model was showing 57 on Christmas Day. Let's go ahead and bring up that webpage. Right now, it is showing, 51? Let me get my cursor there. 51. There we go. Go all the way down. That's Christmas Day. Oh, okay, so this is an extended forecast. And there's another 50, another 51. Let's go down. Oh, that's New Year's Eve. Now, again, yesterday, yes, it was showing 57. But this is not the only model run. I actually have my notebooks with me at the desk. And let's see if I can bring up, and those are the records. Those are the records. One of these, I actually have the chart that I filled out for the 10-day. Here it is. So I go through, I don't know, about 10 different models, and you see the numbers here. If I could do this correctly. There we go. I'm just looking around my notebook. There's a 51. There's a 51. That is the European model. That is the Canadian model. And you see these other models go as low as, say, only 39. And that's above average. And they all average out to around 44 on Christmas Day. And I think on KELOLAND this morning, I just said, 45. Somewhere in the middle. Because the reason why I said 45, we made it to 44 yesterday. Some thick snow on the ground, melting that. I think today we have temperatures in the middle 40s. Still with some snow on the ground, melting that, of course. With these numbers that will allow for melting over the next several days leading into Christmas Day, minus the snow. I don't think we'll have much on the ground, probably some piles by then. That's, easily 45. And I'm just using that number because we've been able to hit that. We will hit it today. We're close to it today. We were close yesterday, 44. So take the snow away. 45 is probably worth doing easily, and we'll see if we get any other models to come in and suggest temperatures maybe hitting the 50s. And I should mention, too, I made a graphic for it. Let me just go ahead and show you that. And I showed you that yesterday, too. There's the pattern one. I want to bring in, here it is, and I'll switch over to it. This. Top 5 for warmest Christmas days. So 50 is the record in Sioux Falls. 2 days in a row, forecasting, 51 to 57 on the same model. 51 today, so cooler today as compared to what it had yesterday. And that could change tomorrow. We'll see if it forecasts in the 40s. It may go up into maybe the middle 50s again. We'll see. But you do notice that those numbers fall to 46 for the 5th warmest Christmas day in Sioux Falls. And, right now forecasting 45. So I, again, would not be surprised. That may not be warm enough that we do end up at least in the top 5 for warmest Christmas days if everything continues to hold true on these forecast models. 56 is the record in Aberdeen and in Pierre, set back in 99. And Rapid City, you have to get into the 60s. And here's a look at Christmas Day records across the area, just using a couple of select cities here. 52 Chamberlain, 66 in Winter, 55 for Yankton. One of the coolest records, 49 for Christmas Day, and that is in Watertown. So that's a look at Christmas Day. And, of course, you know what I did today. Temperatures in the 50s for New Year's Eve. Well, let's go ahead and check those records for the top 5 warmest New Year's Eve. And this is interesting, too. Now, keep in mind, the one model saying 51, and that's 2 weeks out, okay? That, of course, will change. But just gets me thinking about this. We're looking at dry conditions, mostly dry conditions, I should say, mostly dry conditions. That's the way things look right now for the next 2 weeks, that, these temperatures, many of these days will probably end up being above average. So here's a list of the top 5 warmest New Year's Eves. And it puts those numbers in the middle 50s. The record's 54 in Sioux Falls. But look at that drop-off. We go from 51, third warmest, to 43, the 4th warmest, and that happened twice, 1929, 1896. And you see the other cities, Aberdeen has not hit 50 New Year's Eve. The record high is 47. You see those numbers in the 50s for the top 4 in Pierre. And western South Dakota, we have temperatures that are in the 50s and 60s for the top 5 warmest New Year's Eve days. And just bringing in a couple of the other cities here, as warm as, say, 60 in Chamberlain in Winter, 62 in Yankton, 51 in Watertown. So they've had a warmer New Year's Eve as compared to Christmas Day when you look at the actual record books. And let me bring up our trend. Or do I have that coming up in the next segment? I think I have that coming up in the next segment. So we'll just go ahead and jump into that graphic and talk about that pattern. I mentioned before, yes, mostly dry conditions. Looks like that is showing up over the next 2 weeks. So with mostly dry skies, temperatures that for a lot of these days, I would say will be above average. Anytime we're in the 30s in and around Sioux Falls, that more or less is an above average day. And we'll have some of these days, 40s, even reaching the 50s, as I just showed you on a couple of graphics, and I've been writing down those numbers too. So we'll talk more about the next 2 weeks coming up as we continue with Whether or Not. Stay with us. Welcome back to the final segment of Whether or Not for the day, and we are talking about the 2-week pattern, mostly dry conditions, as we jump right into that graphic. Now, there's that hit of colder air. Cold front, we talked about that at the beginning of the show. Cold front moves through tonight and tomorrow, and notice how the temperatures will end up being probably below average tomorrow. We'll see what the temperature is at midnight. It'll end up being the high temperature of the day when you look at the books. But during the day, teens, maybe during the afternoon. You throw in the wind and talked about these wind chills in the minus single digits and the minus teens. But it's only for a day, maybe day and a half, and then these temperatures do warm. As we get into the weekend, we'll have temperatures that will be above average. And then as we get into Christmas week, you can see how temperatures will be well above average, not only for us, but that also extends to the south and southwest. Really decent ridge in the atmosphere working here. In fact, as we continue to expand out, we are looking at temperatures to be well above average, while the east and northeast will have a slide in those temperatures. They will be cold to begin Christmas week. And then as we get into Christmas Day or even the day after, still remaining well above average. We'll see what happens if this trough starts to dig a little more. That's trying to show up right in here. Even by the sound of my voice, probably like, I'm not overly confident on a big trough developing by the way things look right now. But we'll continue to follow it. And then as we get into, the last week of the month, it's still remaining above average. But this time around, as it stops, and this is as far as it goes out until the 31st, New Year's Eve. And I talked more about that during the last segment as to how warm some of those temperatures are trying to get. But again, another trough's trying to develop to where, if this one actually digs a little bit more, then I might be a little more confident on our weather changing as we do get into the first week, maybe a week and a half of January. But that's still a good, couple of weeks out. Something else that I've noticed to the north. See this cold air into Canada? If that trough continues to dig, I do expect this cold air to eventually move across the northern plain. So over the next 2 weeks, I think the main takeaway here is that we will have above average temperatures and we will have mainly dry conditions. You could throw in a chance at a couple of scattered showers from time to time, but overall, it does look like over the next 2 weeks as we ride out the rest of the month, many of these days will end up being above average. That's our time for this latest edition of Whether or Not. Thank you for watching, and have yourself a great day.